Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Hockenheimring. Welcome to the Festival of Dreams. We are celebrating 75 years of Porsche sport, and there is no better way to do it in the sunshine here at this glorious track. And this is race 4 of a 12-race season for the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. We're looking there at our pole sitter and also the driver who won the race yesterday, propelling himself to the top of the points standings, Robert De Haan. He has arrived with style in Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. There is Flint Schuring. There's a driver who started from pole position yesterday with Huber Racing. He was looking strong, he was looking good, but a slowly deflating tyre eventually saw him pitched off into the gravel, and he recorded a non-finish. He wishes to put that to rights. Young Flint Schuring, who had his first ever podium last time out at Spa-Francorchamps, was fairly philosophical about it after the race, and he thinks that today he can put that to rights. There is Dirk Schouten, and there's a driver who starts in 3rd place on the grid. Yesterday, recording a 5th place, fair to say, was very much in the wars. And the man that came into this weekend leading the championship at the moment has dropped down, Glenn van Parijs. He hasn't done anything wrong particularly, it's just an awful lot of competition. He's had a 1st place at Spa-Francorchamps, he's had a 2nd place at Spa-Francorchamps, he had a 3rd place yesterday, and still that pesky Robert De Haan is in front of him on the grid, so he's got his work cut out today. He needs to push his way forwards, as indeed does Sam de Jonge in the treble 7 car. The conditions are perfect. There is a festival atmosphere around the Hockenheimring. We've had live music all into the night last night, lots of parties, lots of celebrations. A monstrous crowd were in yesterday, and they're still pouring in now, enjoying this beautiful 25 degrees sunshine here at the Hockenheimring, just on the outskirts of Hockenheim in the Rhine Valley. This circuit, which is 4.574 kilometers around with 17 turns, 9 to the right and 8 to the left. I'm just going to mention that man there, Bertrand Baguette. We welcome him to Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. He is the reigning Japanese Super GT champion, and he is a wonderful addition to the grid here at the Hockenheimring this weekend. Yesterday he scored a 6th place. He kept out of trouble, and that's a feat in itself. There's a lot of action going on yesterday. There were safety cars, there was drama, there was a bit of damage as well, and maybe just staying out of trouble here is the key to getting points. It is a circuit that presents very few overtaking opportunities. The best is probably into turn 6, the 180 degree hairpin, and that is a corner they approach at great speed, having come out of the parabolica, which is taken flat out, and then under heavy braking, the 180 degree turn creates opportunities for overtaking, but it's also the scene of many an incident. The other issue that we're keeping an eye on is track limits, especially into turn 1. There is a big runoff area into turn 1, and some of the drivers just a little tempted to use that as part of the racetrack, and the steward takes a very dim view on people who use the runoff area of turn 1 for racing. So we'll keep an eye on that, because track limits may be an issue that pop up as this race progresses. We also have the Pro-Am Championship that is running yesterday. It was Great Britain's Aaron Mason who took the win in the Pro-Am Championship ahead of Sacha Norden and Sebastian Lejeune. And also in the AM category, Cedric Chasseng and Ralph Poplars ahead of Mark Vester. That was the 1, 2, 3. So we have races within races here. These are the glorious Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars. They're all identical, apart from the AM cars, which have ABS. The rest of the cars do not. It's allowing the AM drivers maybe a bit of a chance to learn the sport as they go along with the help of ABS. But it is incredibly competitive. You ask the likes of Robert De Haan, Flint Schuring, Glenn van Parijs and Dirk Schouten, the first 4 drivers on the grid. They have all got their work cut out if they want to get on the podium and stay on the podium. It is a packed field, and we are now getting ready for our formation lap. It was Robert de Haan who won yesterday. Ariel Levy came home in second place overall, and Glenn van Parijs finished in third place. Great job from Ariel Levy, although I've never seen anybody so disappointed in finishing second. It was his first podium ever in Carrera Cup Benelux. Let's have a look at the grid. It's Robert de Haan with Flint Schuring, yesterday's pole sitter, alongside him for Huber Racing. Dirk Schouten and Glenn van Parijs make up the second row. What a competitive row that is. Sam de Jonge and Horst Felix Felbermayr also taking part in Germany, Carrera Cup Germany this weekend. On row 4, Bertrand Baguette, hello, and Rick Kuhn. Really good to have them on the grid as well on row 4. Row 5, Micah Stanley and Paul Meyer. And on row 6 of the grid, we have Lucas van Eindhoven. He's a talented young driver, and Cedric Chasseng, Lucas' younger brother of Hoob. Sasha Norden and Quentin Antonell line up on row 7. And on row 8, Felipe Vils and Aaron Mason from Great Britain for Revs Motorsport. On row 9 of the grid, Johan Vignes and Ralph Poplars. And on row 10 of the grid, Didier Gloria and Ariel Levy. Is a long way back, a lot of work to do from there for Huber Racing. Jamie Font and Sebastian Lejeune line up on row 11, and on row 12, Mark Vester and Wim Molders guesting this weekend. It is a busy grid. This is the 11th season of Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. The sun is shining, there is no rain anywhere near, the crowds are all eating ice creams on the terraces, and we are so excited as we celebrate this 75-year anniversary of Porsche sports cars. As you can see there, air is 24.9 degrees centigrade. The track, well, it's almost up to 40 degrees centigrade. There's a little bit of wind, not very much. You can tell where the wind is because people are crowded in it trying to cool down. But the track is getting hot. This is a short, sharp sprint race. Now, one of the keys here is tyre degradation, looking after the tyres in this heat. Of course, at the moment, the cars are weaving, trying to get heat into the tyres. But if you overcook the tyres, if you take too much out of them, you're not going to make it to the end of the 30-minute race. So it's all about tyre preservation, getting it into the window, keeping it there, and making sure you get to the end of the race, because the points are only paid out when they cross the finish line and not before. Having said that, there is a point for pole position, so Robert de Haan has picked one up there, and there is a point for fastest lap. So there are a couple of additional points that are available. So keep an eye on who is putting in the fastest lap, and keep an eye on who is on pole position. Well, we know who's on pole position is Robert de Haan, and he leads the field out along the pit straight, bringing the cars back to a stop. The cars at the back of the pack are still circulating around turn 16 at the moment. Flint Schuring, Dirk Schouten, Glenn van Parijs, all there. Sam de Jonge, Horst Felix Felbermayr, he's into position now. The rest of the cars coming in. We have two drivers that are also in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. We've already mentioned Horst Felix Felbermayr from the Felbermayr Racing dynasty, and also Ariel Levy, who is racing in Carrera Cup Germany as well, using the same car, in fact, having had problems with his original Benelux car. He's had special permission to use the same car for both races, so he needs to look after that one and do not damage it. So the cars are now pretty well in position. We're just waiting for Wim Molders to come into his grid slot. That man there with the green flag will give us the indication that all is good. He says, yes, we are good to go. And now the heartbeats are starting to beat. This is race 4 of a 12-race season. Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. We are going. It's a great start from Flint Schuring. He's beaten Robert de Haan off the line. De Haan's had a bad start. Glenn van Parijs also coming up the inside. Dreadful start from Robert de Haan. It's Flint Schuring. He wants to make up for yesterday's disappointment, and he leads the field into turn 1 and turn 2. But Robert de Haan trying to come back around the outside, taking the long way around. He hangs it right around the outside. Flint Schuring slams the door in his face. It's Robert de Haan who's still into second place. Glenn van Parijs almost mugged him as well. There's a lot of fighting for position further back, but look at this. Glenn van Parijs, he knows he needs to get past Robert de Haan early on along the Parabolica, he gives him the squeeze into the hairpin under heavy braking, almost 3 abreast. De Haan to the inside, but Flint Schuring has that line, or does he? Out of the hairpin they come, side by side. Now who's it going to be? It's Flint Schuring who gives way to Robert De Haan. De Haan into the lead of the race. Now Schuring coming under pressure from Glenn Van Parijs, who is behind. The first 3 have broken away from Sam de Jonge. There's somebody going wide further back, but we're keeping our eyes on the first 3 cars. A very competitive start into that first corner. A lot of positions to be gained and a lot of positions to be lost in the early stages. I think that's Micah Stanley who might be going slow at the back. We'll check that one in a bit. But our new race leader, Robert De Haan, he started on pole position, he lost it, and now he's taking it back again in the first lap. That opening lap is always crucial. It's a great opportunity to make up places. It's such a dangerous place, though, to lose places. So Robert De Haan out of turn 17 onto the pit straight. He's now opened up a bit of a gap between himself and Flint Schuring. And across the line they come. Dirk Schouten is down into 4th place. So Glenn Van Parijs up into 3rd. And de Jonge, Sam de Jonge in the treble 7 car now made it up to 4th place, having relegated Dirk Schouten a position. So, making good progress. Not the start for Dirk Schouten he wanted. You can see Bertrand Baguette in the background there. There's Ariel Levy. He's got a lot of work to do from further back. Running side by side with Aaron Mason in the number 8 car. This is a 30-minute sprint race, 30 minutes plus 1 lap. And we are already 2.5 minutes into the race. We've had a lead change already, and it's Robert De Haan. Now Glenn Van Parijs to the inside of Flint Schuring. He knows he needs to get after the race leader because the championship is critical. The top 2 in the championships have finished 1st, 2nd or 3rd in every race so far. Podiums almost essential if you want to take this championship all the way to the wire. Finishing outside of the podium doesn't seem to be enough. That is how competitive Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux is. Lots of position fighting further back as we look at the field in the glorious sunshine. I'm going to take another look at the start here. And there was one that got away very quickly and then stopped, and that was car 912, Felipe Wills, and he has been given a time penalty, a 5-second time penalty for making that start. So a false start has been awarded to Felipe Wills, and that will be a time that will be added on to his time at the end of the race. You saw him get going and then stop again. I don't think he gained much from it, but it was classed as a jump start. The incident has also been noted between Ariel Levy and Jamie Font. So we saw cars going wide earlier on, and that has been noted by the stewards, but no action has been taken as of yet. Flint Schuring has also been noted for an incorrect grid position, so not entirely sure what that was. It looked fairly good to me from what we could see on the screens, but the stewards have a much better view of this than any of us do. So Flint Schuring is under investigation for an incorrect grid position. We'll keep an eye on that as the positions continue. Dirk Schouten taking a look, just a little glimpse on the inside of Bertrand Baguette, but here come the race leaders. Robert De Haan, he's opened up a gap from Flint Schuring. Glenn Van Parijs looking more impatient than ever. You can see that the black and white flag has been awarded to Ariel Levy for pushing another car off the track. So that would be the car 93, Jamie Font. The black and white flag, it is a warning. It doesn't mean the driver will be penalised necessarily, but it does mean that if the driver does something similar to that again during this race, he may well get a penalty. So, let's take stock. Robert De Haan leading the way. It was a second ahead of Flint Schuring last time around. But I think that will have opened up a bit, and Glenn Van Parijs will be getting increasingly impatient because he knows that as long as he is behind Flint Schuring, he cannot get off to after his championship rival. Still a little bit too far back along the pit straight they come. Robert De Haan, who was in open wheel racing very much up until this point, has taken to Porsche very much like the duck to water, and that is Ralph Poplars doing a little bit of rallycross. He rejoins now. Whether he's damaged the car, well, we'll find out, I guess. The splitter is the bit that gets damaged very easily. You can see him tearing across the grass there. I don't think he even lifted off, did he? Keep your foot buried on it, mate. That's what you do. Rejoins the track. And, well, it's a brave man who keeps his foot on it on the grass at the best of times. And let's hope he hasn't damaged that car. There's Dirk Schutter now, who has going the wrong way down the field. He's got Rick Kuhn behind him in 7th place, who is looking to relieve him of that position. So Dirk Schutter in the number 57 yellow and orange car, and Rick Kuhn behind him in the red, white and blue car, challenging for position. It was a good qualifying from Dirk Schutter. He was very much in the wars in yesterday's race, and wanted to make up for that, but not really showing the kind of pace that he needs to challenge the front runners. There's a bit of a gap back from the runners to Sam de Jonge in 4th place as well, but let's keep an eye on this battle here. Dirk Schutter and Rick Kuhn. And Rick Kuhn looking very close, tucked up behind the number 57 car. Around turn 12 they come, and up in towards Sachs curve, which is that banked curve that gives them the opportunity to propel towards 15, 16 and 17, and out of 17 onto the pit straight. Here they come, absolutely flat out. We can see a couple of cars noted for false starts. That is Juan Viñez and also the 93 car of Jamie Font. Oh, Jamie Font has definitely been attracting too much attention from the stewards nowadays, isn't he? So he was noted. I don't think there's any action going to be taken as of yet. We continue to watch Ariel Levy in the 87 car with the rainbow markings representing Pride Month in June. The 87 Ariel Levy car now attacking Paul Meyer ahead of him. Meyer in 10th place. So Ariel Levy has made a great start from a long way back on the grid. He is moving forward. He has been very rapid. He looks to the inside of the 77 car under heavy braking at the hairpin. That looks like a textbook move from Ariel Levy. And onto the accelerator. He makes the move past, and away he goes. So Ariel Levy up into 10th place, relieving that position from Paul Meyer. So the rest of the cars continuing through. Let's just take a look. It's Cedric Chassang once again, who is our leading AM driver. And our leading Pro-Am driver is Juan Viñez. Juan Viñez is in 13th place overall. Chassang is in 12th. Lucas van Eindhoven. Van Eindhoven is a name that we're all getting used to in the world of Carrera Cup, both Germany and Benelux. We've had Hoob, who's come through the ranks. Now Lucas, who's looking pretty useful as well. Had a good first half to the race yesterday, but struggled later on. There is Cedric Chassang in the 42 car. Just caught a glimpse of him there. But now Lucas van Eindhoven coming under pressure from Ariel Levy. That man is on a mission. The number 87 pilot, the first Israeli driver ever in Carrera Cup Benelux, also in Carrera Cup Germany, one of Christoph Huber's team. The legendary Christoph Huber, who took his first ever win in the GT Masters at this event yesterday. And he's now watching one of his drivers challenging for position. Lucas van Eindhoven driving quite defensively around turns 3 and 4. Now it's flat out along the parabolica. It is a corner, but they take it with foot to the floor. This is where the drivers can pick up a good slipstream, but then it's really heavy braking as they come in towards the hairpin. Now Ariel Levy looking to the inside. Lucas van Eindhoven giving him plenty of space. Ariel Levy under braking. Now Van Eindhoven tries to come back round the outside. It's a drag race and they run side by side. Ariel Levy now with his nose in front, but Van Eindhoven has that faster line round the corner. He's going to have the inside line into the corner. They make contact. There's smoke coming from Ariel Levy's car. Now I wonder if he got a bit of damage there. Van Eindhoven has run wide, but Ariel Levy looks like he's either got a puncture or bodywork rubbing. What a shame after such a strong run. And now that car looks like it might be ailing. So Lucas van Eindhoven has also dropped back. But Ariel Levy, smoke coming from the car. That doesn't look good, does it? Now, whether it's just bodywork rubbing, but even bodywork rubbing could overheat the tyres, and the smoke has stopped, so maybe whatever it was touching has dropped back. So Levy still there, still showing in 10th place, 9th place. So he crosses the line, and it looks as though all is okay at the moment, but has he got any damage? That is the question. You can see here just a little tap. Levy came across to try and defend the line into the corner. Van Eindhoven had his nose in, and it's fair to say that neither driver has gained any advantage out of that. Van Eindhoven is down into 12th place, Levy into 10th place. So that hasn't worked well. There's a spinner as well, and it's Quentin Antonell pointing in the wrong direction on the hairpin. So our race leader continues to be Robert de Haan, leading Flint Schuring, who has really upped his pace. It looked for a while as though he was going to fall into the clutches of Glenn van Parijs, but 1.1 seconds between first and second. Flint Schuring is not out of the running to take the top step of the podium in this race at this rate. There's a driver, Juan Viñez, who had a fairly torrid day yesterday, and now under pressure from Sasha Norden. Sasha Norden, one of the talent pool drivers. They're the drivers that are being coached and mentored by former Porsche factory driver Dirk Werner. And there are 7 talent pool drivers in this race. It's a wonderful scheme, and it really trains the drivers not only in racing but also in dealing with the media. Boy, they need help with that, and just training and fitness and diet and everything that goes with it. So the talent pool drivers are really great bunch, and many champions coming from the talent pool. We continue to focus on our leaders. Robert de Haan ahead of Flint Schuring, and Glenn van Parijs, he does look like he's struggling a little bit to keep up with the lead 2, doesn't he? So Robert de Haan, well, it's 0.6 of a second, so Flint Schuring has nearly halved the gap between himself and the race leader in that last lap. So Flint Schuring, he's not giving up yet, is he? The young 18-year-old driver, his brother Morris has come through the ranks, is currently showing very well indeed in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. Glenn van Parijs has been part of the Benelux family for a while now, and really wants to get his hands on a title. And in 3rd place there, you can see his main rival, Robert de Haan, disappearing off the road. De Haan, who is the youngest driver in the field, he's only 16 years old, and he's come into this series, and it really has brought him alive as a driver. Behind Glenn van Parijs, Sam de Jonge and Bertrand Baguette. But let's have a look. It was 0.686 last time. We'll keep an eye on that. You can see the incident between car 8 and 56. So that was Aaron Mason, and the car that we saw spinning, Quentin Antonell. That's going to be investigated after the race. So, as you were, there are no penalties that appear to be coming forth as a result of the Van Eindhoven-Ariel Levy situation. It has been noted, but the stewards have not made any moves on that as of yet. It did look very much like it could have been a racing incident. Dirk Schuiten continues in 7th place. Horst Felix Felbermayr, young driver who really is one of the up-and-coming talents. It seems weird saying Felbermayr as an up-and-coming talent because both his dad and his granddad are legendary GT racers, and he is following in the Felbermayr footsteps, and he is showing why racing is in the blood as he ducks to the inside, has a little peep at Dirk Schuiten. There was no way of actually getting past, but he has a little look there. That is in the 8th place. Ariel Levy behind up into 9th, incidentally, so that moment that he had with the smoke coming doesn't appear to have slowed him. You can see that Robert de Haan has had a black and white flag for track limits. That is a warning, so he is clearly using a little bit too much of the area outside of the track. The stewards think he might be gaining an advantage. The black and white flag is a warning, and he needs to be careful. He could easily pick up a penalty if he continues to exceed track limits. We focus on this fight for 7th place. It is Dirk Schuiten with Horst Felix Felbermayr challenging him all the way into the sharp turn 8. It is a sharp left-hand turn, and then through into the motordrome area of the circuit. Not great overtaking opportunities here, but if he can get close enough through the motordrome and around the banked Sachs curve, which is where they're heading now, and out onto the pit straight. He might be able to pick up a slipstream and make a move into turn 1. Into turn 1 and into turn 6 are the two best opportunities. Felbermayr looking at the moment to be a little bit too far back. You can see how much of the track Robert De Haan is using as he bumps across the curb. They really do take the whole issue of track limits to the extreme. We are over halfway in the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux here at the Hockenheimring, race 4 of a 12-race season, and this is your championship leader, Robert De Haan, the youngest driver in the field, but a driver who has come in and really stamped his authority on the championship. Now, Flint Schuring, where is he? Well, the gap has opened up to a little over a second, so it's kind of opening and closing, piano accordion style. But Flint Schuring not letting Robert De Haan get too far away. Glenn van Parijs, he just doesn't look as though he's got the kind of pace that is needed to challenge the front two at the moment. But a safety car or something like that, or even a mistake from the lead duo, could see him right back in the battle. So he just needs to stay in contact as best he can. Good to see Lucas van Eindhoven has survived that incident that he had with Ariel Levy as well. And there is the 33 car, and that is Sebastian Lejeune with Didier Gloria in the number 7 car behind. So it is the 33 car in 17th in the Pro-Am category, and now it's Didier Gloria who challenges for that position. A nice clean move on the inside. Lejeune using a fair bit of the runoff area, trying to fight back now, and he does that actually, but he overcooks it, can't slow the thing down, anchors overboard, but not enough. Didier Gloria is through, and that is for 17th place. It's Sasha Norden who leads the Pro-Am category. Now, 5-second time penalty for car 16. Flint Schuring, a 5-second time penalty for an incorrect grid position. This is very significant. The car that is running in second place, as we look again at that move on Sebastian Lejeune by Didier Gloria. So Flint Schuring, a 5-second time penalty. This is very bad news for him because he's only got 2.4 seconds on second place Glenn van Parijs. So clearly the stewards have taken a long, hard look and decided that he did not start in the correct position. And that is bad news indeed for Flint Schuring, because it could relegate him off the podium even. Now, Sam de Jonge, well, he is 1.5 seconds behind Glenn van Parijs. There's 3.9 seconds between second and fourth. So Flint Schuring really needs to get a move on, and maybe that will rule him out of any possibility of winning this race, even if he does get in front. There's Dirk Schouten in 7th place. Horst Felix Felbermayr behind in 8th, and Ariel Levy, who continues his charge forwards. He seems like a man who is on a renewed mission this year after a winter of training and hard work. So he is in that 9th place. Let's hope he hasn't taken too much out of the tyres too early on. Dirk Schouten in that 7th place at the front of that queue. Look how much of the track Felbermayr is using as he tries to get past the yellow and orange car. But Dirk Schouten for Q1 track racing continues to hold off the number 88 for Huber Racing, Horst Felix Felbermayr, and another of the Huber cars behind in the hands of Levy. So out onto the pit straight they come. We've had about 2/3 of the race done, just a little under, and it is still Robert De Haan. He's opened up the gap to 1.277 seconds on Flint Schuring, so he appears to have control of it. Flint Schuring is 2.469 ahead of Glenn van Parijs, so somehow he needs to find another 2.5 seconds if he wants to hold on to that second place, because he has a 5-second time penalty hanging over his head like an axe. That will be bad news for him. Dirk Schouten looking increasingly vulnerable as Horst Felix Felbermayr continues his challenge. I was going to update you on the other categories, and then we got distracted. It's Cedric Chassang in 11th place, who leads the way in the AM category, and Sasha Norden in 13th place, who leads the way in the Pro-Am category, and he's got Juan Viñas just behind him, so he's going to be coming under pressure for that before too long as well. Right, 10 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. It's Robert De Haan who leads 1.277 seconds over Flint Schuring, who has a 5-second time penalty, ahead of Glenn Van Parijs, who is 2.4 seconds behind Schuring. And if he can just stay there, he will get that second place. Sam de Jonge is in 4th place. Then Bertrand Baguette. Then Rick Cohen in 6th. Dirk Schouten, who we've just seen, in 7th. Horst Felix Felbermayr in 8th. Ariel Levy in 9th. And Paul Meyer rounding out the top 10. And then it is the leading AM driver in Cedric Chassang, who is in 11th place overall. And the 46 car continuing on his way. So he came past the commentary position just now. It didn't look like there was a puff of smoke coming from it, but there may be. That was just dust being kicked up, because the drivers really are using an awful lot of the track, particularly on the exit of turn 17. And every time they come out of the corner, we see the dust plumes rising into the air. Track limits, we said it was going to be an issue, didn't we? So car 14, that is Lucas van Eindhoven and Paul Meyer in 77, getting warnings for track limits. And I wonder if we're going to make it for the next 8 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap without somebody actually getting a penalty, because the track limits do seem to be an ever-pressing topic. And now Ariel Levy looks to the inside. Horst Felix Felbermayr, they're going to be racing each other a little later on this afternoon in Carrera Cup Germany. Felbermayr holding on at the moment. There's full tilt down towards turn 8, then the heavy braking, the sharp left-hand turn. And whilst Felbermayr is defending from Ariel Levy, that's allowing Dirk Schouten just to open up a gap, and that's taking the heat off him a little bit, because Felbermayr, far from attacking, is now having to defend from the number 87 car behind him. But still, Felbermayr keeps on his way. These cars all absolutely identical, apart from maybe wing angle and minor adjustments. But it really is all about driver skill, driver versus driver. In the Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux, this, the 11th season of the championship, training the stars of the future. And you are looking at some stars of the future there. As a driver, Quentin Antonel, who is pointing in the wrong direction and just thinking maybe about the future that doesn't involve this race, because he's turned it around, he's locked up into the corner, the car has just swapped ends. That looks like that was into turn 8, and that just pops him out of position and down to the back of the field. He was a long way back anyway, so he will perhaps be turning his attention towards Zandvoort and hoping for better fortunes after this weekend. He's rejoined, but is currently pretty well towards the back of the pack. I mean, he's showing in 22nd on the timing screens. A pretty little car, that, but it's not something that is going to be on the podium today. Car 14, a 5-second time penalty for track limits. I wondered if we were going to get this before the end of the race. Lucas van Eindhoven has a 5-second time penalty as a result of track limits. So we have 2 cars now that are running with time penalties, and that is Flint Schuring, and that is that's Lucas van Eindhoven. Both of them are running with 5-second penalties, which will be applied once this race is done. Now let's just have a look at the number 14 car. It is in 12th place, Lucas van Eindhoven, and 5 seconds on top of that. That's going to drop him pretty well out of the points, so that is disastrous. And you can see the big crowd that are in here at the Hockenheimring in the glorious sunshine, celebrating the Festival of Speed, celebrating Robert De Haan, who's leading the way, but by less than a second. Well, it was. It's now jumped back over a second from Flint Schuring and Glenn Van Parijs. Remind you again, Flint Schuring has that 5-second time penalty, so Glenn Van Parijs does not need to do anything desperate to get past. He's going to struggle to get up to Robert De Haan though and get past him in the remaining 5 3/4 minutes of this race. It's De Haan from Schuring, from Parijs. De Jonge, very solid performance in 4th place, and that will equal his best performance of the year so far if he can remain there. And that is Cedric Chassang, who has been really solid. He's in 11th place in the number 42 car. He got an 8th place yesterday, and has really had a good weekend here at the Hockenheimring, and he continues to chase down Paul Meyer. Paul Meyer, who is in a different category, he's in the pro category, and Shasang is in the AM category, looking very rapid as he comes around the hairpin and now around what is a fairly tricky part of the track, turn 7, because it's flat out, but then you have that heavy braking into turn 8. And we see many drivers just locking up into that corner and spinning out. Keeping it all together is really key into that corner. So Cedric Chassang really impressing in the number 42 car in the AM category. And one of the few cars with the ABS, and he is putting it to good effect. Without a doubt, a star of the future, star of the present, really. Paul Meyer, another driver who shows well. He had a 4th place yesterday. He's had an 8th and a 6th at Spa-Francorchamps, but he is going to really struggle to hold on to that 10th place for the remaining 4 minutes. Car 46, a 5-second time penalty for track limits. That is our race leader, Robert De Haan. A 5-second time penalty. That is a disaster for our race leader. That is massive news, because this could potentially give the win to Glenn Van Parijs. So we said the stewards might be looking at this. They have. Robert De Haan, our race leader, has picked up a 5-second time penalty. There will be 5 seconds added on to his time at the end of the race. And according to my calculations, as things stand at the moment, that will drop him to 3rd. Having said that, 2nd place Flint Schuring is also carrying a time penalty. That is starting in an incorrect grid position, and he will be really sore about that, because without that, it would have been a race win for him. So it could be that Glenn Van Parijs is going to be the man who sweeps in to take the win with a little over 3 minutes of this race remaining. The order that they cross the line is not going to be the order that they are classified in. Race leader Robert De Haan. A time penalty applied also again to Lucas van Eindhoven. So that's come up a 2nd time on the timing screen. So that'll be a 10-second time penalty to Lucas van Eindhoven. He's in 12th place at the moment. That'll drop him out of the points. So the order that they cross the line is not going to be the order that they're on the podium. Robert De Haan leads the way, but he needs 5 seconds between himself and Glenn Van Parijs. At the moment, it's 4.542. So he's got to find half a second somewhere. Flint Schuring, well, he's going to have 5 seconds as well, so that moves him out of the equation. Robert De Haan, he is going to have to work incredibly hard, because that man there, Glenn Van Parijs, is on the edge of potentially taking a victory here, because the 2 cars in front of him have got time penalties. We're going to have to keep an eye on the timing screens, because this is going to be tight. There is 4.52 seconds last time around between Robert De Haan and Glenn Van Parijs in 3rd place. Flint Schuring is 1.6 seconds behind the race leader, so he will drop back as well. Are we looking now at the potential winner of this race? Because Robert De Haan is going to have to give it all that he's got, and at the moment 4.5 seconds is not quite enough. So when they cross the line in a moment, this is going to be critical. At the moment they're at turn 12, and De Haan will have to give it all that he's got to stay in front of Glenn Van Parijs. Right, the last sector, Van Parijs had closed it down, so in the opposite direction to where Robert De Haan needed to go. So the last sector, there was about a second that Glenn Van Parijs had in hand. Right, let's have a look. Into 16 they come, out onto 17 as they cross the line. This is going to be critical. Robert De Haan needs 5 seconds over the Glenn Van Parijs car. It crosses the line, and he hasn't got that 5 seconds at the moment. It's 4.1, so Glenn Van Parijs has upped the pace. He's clearly had the tip off. This is what he needs to do. And suddenly Glenn Van Parijs is looking like the race winner here at the Hockenheimring. High drama indeed in race 4 of this 12-race season in Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. Robert De Haan leading the way. He has 5-second penalty for track limits. You can see that car number 5 is under investigation after the race. That'll be Micah Stanley. And Micah Stanley, who is a long way back in the pack. In fact, he's in the pits at the moment. So an incident that he's been involved in and being investigated after the race. Right, let's keep an eye on this. So there is about a lap and a half left of this race because the clock has struck 0. So once the cars cross the line, they will be on to the last lap. It's Robert De Haan who leads from Flint Schuring. Both drivers have a 5-second time penalty. Glenn Van Parijs, running in a solid 3rd place, has no penalties. So at the moment, he is looking good for the win. He needs to stay within 5 seconds of the leader, and he will be there. Sam de Jonge in a solid 4th place. Bertrand Baguette in 5th. Rick Cohen in 6th. Dirk Schouten has settled down in 7th. Ariel Levy in 8th. Horst Felix Felbermayr in 9th. And Paul Meyer rounding at the top 10. Our leading AM driver is Cedric Chassang in 11th. Our leading Pro-Am driver, Sasha Norden, in 13th place. We are on to the final lap of the race. 4.191 seconds is not enough for Robert De Haan to win this race. Glenn Van Parijs is in 3rd place on the road, but he's looking like he could be the winner of this race. Sam de Jonge just waiting in the background. We're going to have to see where it all shakes out when they cross the line, and all the penalties have been applied because we have Lucas van Eindhoven, we have Flint Schuring, and biggest of all, Robert De Haan, all running with time penalties on them. Into the hairpin for the last time here at what has been a sensational race for at the Hockenheimring. Robert De Haan out of the hairpin. He comes out around turn 7 and in towards turn 8. This is the car in 3rd place that you're looking at, and he is going to be the race winner unless something happens in the next half a lap that allows Robert De Haan to open up a 5-second gap from him. This is going to be the man, Glenn Van Parijs, who takes the top step of the podium and surely will take the lead in the championship as well. I think that's just definite possibility. Robert De Haan currently has the point for the fastest lap, and I don't think that's going to get eclipsed at any point. A 1:41.328. So he also has the point for pole position as we look at Bertrand Baguette, but the race win, is it going to be out of reach? Out of turn 17 comes Robert De Haan. 4.383 seconds is the gap. He crosses the line, he receives the checkered flag. Flint Schuring in 2nd, but it's going to be the 3rd place man, is it? It's going to be Glenn Van Parijs who takes the win because the time set penalties are going to be applied. And if my calculations are correct, it's going to be Glenn Van Parijs who takes the win in this race 4 of Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. And in the background there's Sam de Jonge who's closed in. So as they cross the line, Robert De Haan, Flint Schuring, Glenn Van Parijs, that's your 1, 2, 3. Sam de Jonge, Bertrand Baguette, Rick Cohen, Dirk Schouten, Ariel Levy, Horst Felix Felbermayr, and Paul Meyer. Cedric Chassang in 11th place, winning in the AM category ahead of Lucas van Eindhoven. Sasha Norden in 13th, winning in the Pro-Am category. But I'm going to wait for our timing screens to update because it'll be that man there, Glenn Van Parijs, surely, who takes this. You can see it was 4.233 seconds back from the race leader. De Haan's 5-second time penalty will be applied as the cars come to a stop. Wow, high drama. So I'm just going to wait for our timing screens to update. Nervous wait for everybody. Glenn Van Parijs, the driver who has kept his nose clean for the full duration. Crossed the line in 3rd place, but looking like the race winner here at Hockenheimring for Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. Just going offline to pick up rubber, weight limitations, all very, very carefully monitored, just getting the extra rubber onto the tyres. What a dramatic end to the race. Kind of the opposite to yesterday, which was a race that finished pretty well in slow motion. This race, something very different indeed. A race that had drama all the way through. Ariel Levy been registered in 8th place, and the timing screens are indeed updated. It is Glenn van Parijs who has the win. I wanted to get confirmation from the stewards, but Robert de Haan down into 2nd place. And it's Sam de Jonge who finishes on the podium. Flint Schuring just missing out on a podium position by a few tenths of a second. And then Bertrand Baguette, a good 5th place ahead of Rick Kuhn and Dirk Schouten and Ariel Levy, Horst Felix Felbermeyer. But how dramatic is that? Glenn van Parijs taking the win. Robert de Haan exceeded the track limits. We said at the top of the show that track limits were going to be an issue all afternoon long. We did not expect it to change the outcome of the race, but indeed it did, because Robert de Haan, he led pretty well every lap, maybe give or take the first one. He led from start to finish, but the track limits are finally what bit hard, and it's Glenn van Parijs who comes in as the race winner. He kept his nose clean, he kept out of trouble, and he comes to take the top step of the podium. Sam de Jonge in 3rd place. Flint Schuring, you have to feel for him. I still didn't see where his inaccurate grid position was, but they are very closely monitored, the grid boxes. So the stewards have decided that he was out of position. Had it not been for that, then Flint Schuring would have been scoring his first ever win in Carrera Cup Benelux. But ifs and buts and whys, that's what motor racing's all about. The big one is that Glenn van Parijs kept out of trouble, did what he needed to do, and took the win in race 4 of this 12-race season. So we're just listening in, always listening in, always looking for tidbits. The Richardson Racing driver. And he just needed to keep that gap. That's exactly what he did. He had a second to spare in the end. So heading over towards the podium, Robert de Haan, another of the drivers in the talent pool. There is your confirmation. Sensational. Glenn van Parijs from August by NGT, beg your pardon, in the winning position ahead of Robert de Haan for Richardson Racing. Then Sam de Jonge for Red Ant Racing, Flint Schuring for Huber Racing, and then Bertrand Baguette for August by NGT. That was, in fact, Robert de Haan we saw walking off, not Glenn van Parijs that we saw heading towards the podium. And you can understand why he wasn't in a hurry to take his helmet off. I should think he is probably just a little bit agitated after that. But it'll be something that will be discussed and analysed, and no doubt into the night. Track limits, well, they've always been an issue in Carrera Cup racing. The drivers just using all of the track, and it's not the first time, it certainly won't be the last time, that a race is impacted by drivers exceeding track limits. Sam de Jonge did a great job in the 777 car. His best result of the year so far in 3rd place. Sam de Jonge racing for Red Ant Racing. Robert de Haan for Richardson Racing in 2nd place. A driver who is yet to finish lower than 2nd place in this series. But the man who takes the win, he kept it out of trouble for August by NGT. It is the winner, Glenn van Parijs. So the car's into Parc Ferme, and very shortly we will be heading up to the podium for the presentation. I should think the body language is going to be something to behold at the end of this one. I can't imagine that Robert de Haan will be jumping for joy at that 2nd place. But it's what he needed to do. He's had firsts and seconds, that's all he's had. He had a 2nd place in his debut race at Spa-Francorchamps. He's followed that up with a win and another win yesterday. Sam de Jonge, a much needed bottle of water. There is the very tall Robert de Haan.
We saw him in Parc Fermé, not in a hurry to take his helmet off. And he and his engineers will no doubt analyse what went wrong, where he exceeded the track limits, and we'll go away and we'll learn a lesson. The young 16-year-old driver, the youngest in the field, has won plenty and featured well in, well, last time I saw him, he was in Formula 4 racing. That's the last time I spoke about him. He's come on a long way there since then. When I spoke to him yesterday, he just said, I've found my place in Porsche. And he really has taken to it like the proverbial duck to the water. But it's Glenn van Parijs, something of a seasoned veteran in comparison. He's a twice runner-up in Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. We've also seen him in ADAC GT4 briefly in 2019, and also a brief appearance in 2018 in Porsche Carrera Cup Germany. But it's in the Benelux series that he's really found his home. The twice runner-up really wants to put that to bed. He thought this year might be the year that he can do it, but Robert de Haan is looking to relieve him of that privilege. Handshake between them. So notes are exchanged as we head up towards the podium in just a few moments. But Glenn van Parijs, I haven't done the calculations, but he came into this weekend as championship leader. Yesterday, well, he scored a third place, whereas Robert de Haan had a first. De Haan has picked up the point for both pole position and fastest lap. So I think, by my dodgy calculations, de Haan might still just be at the top of the championship, which is where he moved to after yesterday. But I'm going to let someone who has more fingers and toes work that one out. That sounded really freaky, didn't it? There's Sander Jonge onto the podium for his third place. Great job from him. He'll be delighted with that. The former test and reserve driver for Mahindra Formula E, of course, Sander Jonge is. He congratulates Robert de Haan. Had a feeling that he might not be jumping for joy. But here's the man who is Glenn van Parijs. He kept out of trouble. He kept it on the track. And his team are represented on the podium, August by NGT. National anthem time. The Belgian national anthem echoes throughout the Hockenheimring. Robert de Haan does not look like a happy camper at the moment, does he? There is the race winner, Glenn van Parijs, receiving his trophy. No such traumas for him. Robert de Haan. And, well, the face says it all, doesn't it? Anything less than the top step. He clearly feels that the penalty may have been a little bit too harsh. Third place, Sander Jonge. Great drive from him, solid. He just kept it together. He kept out of trouble, as indeed did Glenn van Parijs. And the result is a podium. So from here, we head to Zandvoort in June, and that's when it will all kick off again, the 23rd to the 25th, so you've only got a couple of weeks to wait. From there, we head to Assen for round 4 in August, in Zolder in September for round 5 as part of the Truck Grand Prix, and then it all finishes at the Red Bull Ring, again as part of the DTM package, in September the 22nd to the 24th, where the championship will be decided. But at the moment, the headlines are Glenn van Parijs keeps out of trouble and takes the win. It concludes what has been a thoroughly entertaining weekend of racing from Porsche Carrera Cup Benelux. We'll see you in a couple of weeks at Zandvoort. See you then. Bye-bye.